Pretties, it's Angela, and today's video is going to be a tutorial on a necklace, and I'm going to be featuring these beads from the dollar bead box for the month of January 2021, and it was that beautiful bee bead and the little flower beads with that copper finish or copper wash on them. So I am going to take those out so you can see those. Those were beautiful beads, and I knew immediately when I saw them that I did want to do something with these. And so I am going to make some kind of a focal in the middle of a necklace. Right now I don't have any idea of what I'm doing with these beads, but I took some stuff out of my stash. But these were the beads that I know I want to make something with. And I want to do a focal in the middle of a necklace. And so that is my plan, to start with that. And so I'm going to try to take you along on this creative process. So what I did was I tried to find some crystals I tried to find some turquoise, and I just wasn't finding a color that I really wanted to use in my stash that I already have. So I pulled out some crystals, I pulled out some metal spacers. These three strands, I pulled this off already, but these three strands of metal spacers came from Michael's in one of my hauls that I did on the 70% off. This also came from Michael's. This was a strand of turquoise that I thought matched pretty close. It's not turquoise stone, but it is the turquoise crystals. And so I did pull those out. And I'm not sure what I'm using just yet. And I did pull out this strand that I got from one of our local bead shows that I just went to recently and did a haul on, because I thought that it pulled out the copper tone in that bead pretty nicely. So we'll see if that works. I also have a strand of this peach kind of colored crystal from the bargain bead box that I do have those, so I may use those. And then I did pull out the what they call rose gold. It's more of a coppery rose gold, and so I thought that would work in the back as a clasp. So I did pull those out. So this is what I have out so far. Now it may change, I may add to it, but not really sure. But I'm going to go ahead and take some of these beads off the strands, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've cut all my beads off and I've kind of sorted them out, and I started playing around with how I wanted to kind of set it up. And there is no definite like pattern other than one side matches the other, but there's no like pattern that I'm following. I kind of just started off with my beads here, and I know I want my little flowers to go a little bit, maybe about an inch or so, a half inch to an inch away from the bee. I'm still trying to decide. I think I want to make this like a Y almost, and maybe have a head pin, use an eye pin, and create some little dangles to dangle down from that eye pin. So I'm still thinking on that. But I wanted to come back and just kind of show you how I laid things out. I've started with my centerpiece. And then, like I said, I have 3 metal components. There's another one over here. I know it's hard to see. My bead board is a long one. It's straight. So I do have 3 different metal components. I have the little small ones. This is 2 different colors, but I'm using the darker copper ones. And then those little spacers that were on a long strand from Michael. So I have those 3, and then I have 3 types of crystals. I have the small bicones, I have the 6mm rondelles in the turquoise color, and then the 6mm rondelles in that pretty like peachy coppery tone crystal. So I went ahead and, like I said, I didn't do any pattern like, you know, crystal spacer. I didn't do anything like that. I just kind of laid out some beads, and I know I wanted to, because this bead is turquoise, I wanted to get some copper around that. So I used, I'm going to put some of the little metal spacers, and I'm going to, like, they kind of reminded me of like little chip spacers, and you kind of put them like up and down, front and back, and it creates like a little textured effect. So I really like those. So I put those next to the focal bead, and then I used one of the, we'll call them the peach crystals here, some more of the little chip spacers, and then the flowers. And then I used these kind of melon type spacers, like a melon bead, and that was in the one from Michael's that look like that. And they kind of remind me of a melon bead. So those are the little melon spacers. And then I went ahead and broke up since I had that copper, I used the turquoise crystals and then one of the little bitty peach bicones. I know it's really hard to see. When I start stringing it, it'll be easier to see. But I put a peach one in between each one of the blues, then did another melon, and just kind of broke up the turquoise and the peach a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is, let me see. I'm going to get an eye pen. And we're going to try this. Like I said, this is a creative process. I don't have any picture in my head as far as how it's going to look when I finish, but we'll see where it ends up. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take my one-step loopers and create a loop on both sides. And just remember to be careful with your beads when you are going up. You don't want to crack your bead. And I'd rather pull it off and just pinch it closed with my pliers than to break my bead. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pinch it closed, and then we have that perfect loop. Okay, so that is where I'm going with this. I am thinking that I want this to be, okay, so I am going to have it facing the same direction, which is no problem. I should have done that before. I should have made sure that they were facing the right way before I did that. But I want them to both be facing, no I don't. Okay, so I want this one to be facing like towards me, because that is what's going to be strung on the wire. And then my jump rings that I'm going to make my dangles from is going to go on this bottom loop. Okay, and you can have your bead facing up if you want, or you can have it facing down. It really is a personal preference. I think I'm going to leave mine up. I do believe I'm going to leave mine up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut me a piece of beading wire and start to string this up and see how it's looking, because you know sometimes what you see on the board and when you start to string it up may not be what you like. So just start stringing it up. I'm going to cut me a piece of bead along wire, and I am using I'll show you in just a second. I am using a 0.015 bead along. Like I said, I have a huge spool of this, so my go-to for now until I use it all up. It's like a really big spool. But I'm going to go ahead and I want to make this. I always cut off extra length. That's just me. But I'm going to go ahead and put my bead buddy on one end so we don't lose our work. It's over here. And start, like I said, just start stringing this up. I do want to make this about a 16 or to an 18-inch necklace. Now, I was kind of wanting to incorporate some chain, but I don't have this copper colored chain right now. So, I am going to have to make it at least probably a 17 to 18-inch necklace, because if I would have had chain, I could have made it a 16, put the extender, and I wouldn't have had to worry about it. Now, I know that what I have laid out right here is probably only maybe 12 to 14 inches once we get it all strung up and it gets pushed together. So I will have to add length on both sides. But I want to go ahead and string this up and see how it looks so far, and then whatever I do on one side as far as stringing, I will mirror it to the other side so that it matches. But like I said, there is no definite pattern as of right now. What I'm doing is just trying to break up the turquoise and the copper coloring. So I am just going down my beadboard, what I have laid out so far, and I'll show you in just a second after I get a few beads on how it's looking. So I'm really hoping this turns out pretty, because like I said, those beads are just beautiful. So now I'm chipping some chips, what I call the little chip spacers. And so there's like a domed effect on these. As you can see, they're curved. And so I'm going to put like one with the curved side up, the next one with the curved side down, and so on. And I have 4 of these in between this little first turquoise bead. So whatever way I start, I'm going to do one up, one down, the next one up, and the next one down. Little boogers are hard to get. Alright, and the next one down. Alright, so let's see. I don't have much strung, obviously, so far, but I'm liking the fact that I have that little bit of touch of turquoise, and I'm fixing to come up to another turquoise bead now that I'm going to frame with those little chip style metal beads. And so I'm going to go ahead and do up to the B, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back, and I have strung half of, well, I say half, the half that I had laid out so far, and it is about 5 inches, so that means my other side will be 5, so that's only 10 inches so far. So I will definitely have to add more on each side, but I'm really liking how this looks so far. And I'll just kind of give you a scan. Like I said, there is no certain pattern. I just kind of have the peaches and the copper tones with the turquoise kind of broken up by different metal spacer beads. You can kind of see what I'm doing there so far. Now I am to the B, and I realized that I had little spaces, little chip, what I call the little chip spacers on each side. And when I put my necklace on, I don't really want it to be sandwiched in between the little chip beads, I guess you call them. So I'm going to put a bicone, a small bicone, on each side of that pendant, or what I'm calling my main focal pendant piece. So I'm going to go ahead and string that on and put another bicone on the other side. And then I'll continue with the pattern that I have so far. So by stringing that on, I kind of have that pendant in between the two bicone crystals. And so I will go ahead and do the other side of the bead, and I will probably go ahead and add on another, the rest of my 18 inches, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do for that dangles off of the bead. Okay, pretty, so I'm back, and I have strung on both sides, and I have also added to, I haven't closed it off yet, and I've added to the length that I want it to be. It's at about 17, let me see, it's at about, yeah, 16 and a half, 17. Almost 17 inches. So it's actually, it fits to where I want it. And then I do have to still add the toggle. So I know it's going to add just a little bit more of length. So this is, I'm really happy with the way this has turned out so far. I just wanted to give you kind of a sneak peek. I'm going to put it on the bust and everything once we're finished. But I wanted to go ahead and show you what I've done so far. Like I said, I have not put the toggle on yet because I want to work on this tassel with you guys. So what I'm planning on doing is I took out some gold head pins. I don't have any copper head pin, like the bright shiny copper. I have the darker antique copper. But anyway, I made a couple of dangles so far, and I don't think that the gold is going to be bad. I don't think you're going to be able to see it because it's kind of going to be hidden by the jump rings. Now I do have some bright copper jump rings, so I think it's going to blend. I think it's going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 1.5 millimeter loop, one-step looper tool, and I'm just going to make a bunch of little dangles. I made one with the little turquoise. Now I did pull out the smaller, the ones that match. They came from 4 strands in the Michaels pack, and so I was using the like the 6 millimeter size in the necklace, but for these dangles, of course, I wanted a little smaller ones, like the little 4 millimeter, 3 to 4 millimeter size rondelles. So I did one of those dangles, and I may make some more of those, but I made one with the little bicone crystals. So I'm using some of the smaller beads, and I'm going to go ahead and put some of these little spacers, the little metal spacer beads. So I'm putting about 3 to 4, depending on the size of the beads, on each one of these little head pins. And then I'm going to use my one-step looper tool to make the loop. You just put that all the way up to your bead, and then you gently squeeze it. It'll cut off the excess and continue. Now I find when you get to the top, just to kind of pull it back a little bit so that it can close. If it doesn't close all the way, it's not a big deal. Like I said, normally you have to attach it to things, but if you don't, like I'm going to be attaching it to putting my jump ring, so I can just go ahead and squeeze that closed and my loop is made. So I have a perfect little dangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a bunch of those, I should say several of those, using these smaller beads. I'm going to use the little rondelle, the little metal spacers I have left, the little rondelles and the turquoise, the bicones, and I think these are going to be too big. I think it's going to go down over the, no, it doesn't. So I may be able to use some of these spacers as well, going down and up, alternating them. Let's see how that works out. So I have 4 of those on there. I might put a couple of more just to give it a little bit more height on the dangle. So let's see. That's about 6 of them on there. And let me take my looper tool and see how this works out. That's part of the fun in the creative process, is just trying things. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. And seeing what works and what doesn't work, and what you like and what you don't like. Like I said, sometimes when you envision things in your head, it doesn't always work out exactly how you plan, but sometimes it just comes out way better too. So that's, again, part of the creating process. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one up because it didn't close quite all the way. It was, let's see. Alright, I closed that one off. So, oh, that's a cute little dangle. I think that's going to be cute. So, like I said, let me go ahead and make a bunch of these little dangles, and then we'll come back and put it on this pendant. Okay, I've made all my little dangles. So I have, what I did was I made 3 of each kind. So I made 3 of the little chip dangles. There's 6 little spacers on each one of those dangles. And then I made 3 of this type with the 2 of the turquoise and the 1 metal bead in between. So I have 3 of those. I have 3 of the all bicone crystals. I have 3 of the all metal spacers. And I have 3 of the all turquoise rondelles. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and finish off this necklace. So I'm going to get one of my toggle clasps and go ahead and crimp that off. So I figured I'd do that on here with y'all, and also see how we're going to arrange the dangles off of the bifocal. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my crimp on one side of my toggle. Put it back through that crimp bead. I'm going to pull it up close to the toggle clasp, and I am just going to do a flat crimp. You want to leave it enough room to where your toggle still moves back and forth, because you don't want it so close to where it doesn't have any play in that toggle, or it will end up making your necklace snap from, you know, wear and tear. Alright, now I do not have any bright copper crimp covers, and I don't think it looks bad. It's just a small flat crimp at the end. It's going up against a spacer bead, so I that's why I ended it with a couple of spacers. I figured the metal next to the crimp wouldn't look bad. And so I'm going to go ahead and just bring this through some of my beads, that extra piece of wire that was left at the end. String some of my beads back on. It's not a necessity, but to me, it makes me feel like it gives it a little bit of more strength and security, so that's why I do it. And I'll only go through, you know, a few more beads, and then if I have, if it's poking out a little bit, I'll snip it off and make sure that the end of the wire is going through, like, the middle of one of the beads. Like, I can actually take this one off and snip it right about here, and then I know that that last little piece of wire is going to end up in the middle of this big rondelle crystal bead. Okay, so then I'm just going to end up sliding the rest of my beads down to meet the end, taking my other end and feeding a crimp bead on. Now again, if I don't want to ruin all this wire, I can definitely cut it off. So I'm going to do that now. Cut piece off, and this is enough I can use. Like I said, I always like to cut extra, but this is definitely enough of a piece that I can use to make a bracelet. So I'll put that off to the side. And so I'm going to go ahead and feed my crimp wire, my crimp through the other end of my toggle. Feed it back through the crimp and a couple of those spacer beads. Pulling it. Again, not so tight that your toggle doesn't move back and forth. I am going to flat crimp that. But you want to make sure that your beads are down the rest of the way on your necklace, because you don't want too much play. Okay, so we're going to flat crimp that. And again, because these little beads have kind of a faceted flat edge, I thought it wouldn't look bad not having to have a crimp cover next to that flat crimp. And so I'm going to take this wire and snip that end off, the extra. And so our necklace is now complete. It's all closed off, and I think it came out really beautiful. I love the little flowers down here. And so that is our focal area, right here with the flowers and that main bead pendant. And so now I think what I'm going to do is, I have my little box of different size jump rings in that shiny kind of coppery rose gold color. So I am going to open up, let's see, I think I'm going to use probably like maybe a 6mm size. Let's try that first. Let's see. So I'm going to take some of these little jump rings out. I'm going to get my pliers and let's see, let's open one of these jump rings up. And you know, when you open a jump ring up, you want to make sure that you do it from front to back and not pull it apart. So I'm going to use my handy little jump ring opening tool and open my jump ring. I'm going to take this pendant, and I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to put, let's see, I think I'm going to try it. Let's see, how many different dangles do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types, and I have 3 of each style. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of them on here on the jump ring first. So I have a couple of our little dangles on the jump ring, and then I'm going to attach it to the bee, the head pin, the eye pin, I'm sorry, I keep calling it a head pin. Alright, and so I have 3 more dangles. So let's see how that works if I put them all on here like this. So on the other side, since I put it through the eye pin, I'm going to put the other 3 little dangles on this side of the jump ring and close it up. Close up that jump ring. Alright, and there is our first dangle. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take another jump ring. It's kind of like making a layered effect. Now, again, I'm trying to see, I think what I'm going to do is, let's just try this. Like I said, this is coming up with it on a whim. So we're going to put our jump ring, our one of each of our dangles on the jump ring. And I'm not doing them in any particular order. They're just all going on. One of each kind that I made. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this jump ring, and I'm going to go in between some of those dangles. I want to have maybe 2 on one side, 3 on the other. Just go in the middle of these dangles and attach it to the jump ring. So I'm attaching it to that first jump ring that's dangling down in the middle of the beads and closing that up. So let's see how we look so far. I like that. It just makes it a cluster, and it keeps going further down. So we're going to do another one. I'm just trying to decide if I wanted to put an extra jump ring in between, if it would give it more of a layered look. Than just doing it straight onto that jump ring. But I don't know. I think once we put the other one, it may fill it in. Let's do one more and see. If not, we'll go back and we'll add a jump ring in between the clusters. So we're going to open this one up. Put one of each left of our dangles that we made. I thought I had another one. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, I did. It flew in here. I was about to say, I thought I had 5 different ones. Okay. So this is 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so again, and then I know it gets a little bit harder to see, especially on camera, but you're going to go into your second jump ring. If it's easier to hold that second jump ring in your hand, just hold it and kind of let those dangles fall to the side. Find your jump ring. there's a jump ring in the middle. And I'm going to go in between those dangles straight onto the jump ring. Making sure I just have the jump ring, and I do. Okay, and I'm going to close that loop up, that jump ring up. And let's see how it looks. I think that looks really, really pretty. It's almost like a little burst effect. And of course they're going to dangle around, they're going to move. There's a lot of play in that little piece. But I think that's really pretty. I think it gives it enough of the turquoise and that really pretty coppery peach color. So let me go ahead and put it on the bust so you can see. If I can, let's see. Oh, guys, I really like that. It's really pretty. Alright, so let me pick up these jump rings so I don't lose them. Put them back in here. And close that up. So let me see if I can kind of scan the camera up a little bit so that you can see. There's a little dangle at the bottom. And again, if you wanted it to hang longer, you can make more dangles and continue to connect to the jump rings. Or you can add an extra jump ring in between each one. So I think this is really cute. I like how it turned out. And so I like the fact that we have that bee in the middle. We have the two flowers on the sides. And then we have all of that beautiful turquoise and peachy, coppery color crystals going all the way around the necklace, all the way to the back. And we have our pretty toggle clasp. Let's see if I can get it to go just a little bit higher so you can see. I have a lot of junk in the background. Sorry, guys. I do other crafts too. So there's the necklace. There's the focal. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring this back down and give you another close-up shot of it. That's starting in the back with those beautiful crystals. And like I said, there's no real pattern. It's just breaking up the two different colors all the way down the necklace to that beautiful focal. And this whole area right here with the flowers and the bee is really your main focal area. And I think that's fun with the little dangle down at the bottom. So that's the finished piece. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for the pauses, but I didn't want to make y'all watch, you know, each step of a bunch of different things, a bunch of different dangles of the same process. So I just kind of separated the process out for you, and I hope that helps. But if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Click on subscribe. Click on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video to YouTube. If you know of anybody that's interested in jewelry making videos, send them on over to watch these videos with y'all, and we'll just kind of hang out and have fun. So until the next video, guys, bye.